Are the Milwaukee Bucks aggressively pursuing Zach LaVine leading into the trade deadline? Can they offer anything that the Bulls should bite on? Me and Pat going to discuss it all and more on this breaking news episode of Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. That's Pat, the designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze, and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central, Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. I would have a little bit more intro in there for you guys, but none of that matters right now. This is a breaking news episode. Evan Sidri reported that the Milwaukee Bucks are prepared to aggressively pursue Zach LaVine leading to the trade deadline, Pat. Now, there's a couple of things that would have to happen in this. The Milwaukee Bucks are a second tax apron team. Yes. So that means that you can't send out multiple players in any trade. There can be 15 teams involved in the trade. They can only send out one player in the trade. So it's already been kind of heavily reported and speculated that the Milwaukee Bucks, as a precursor, would move Pat Connaughton to a team that can absorb most his salary. That would then move them out of being the second tax apron team. Then they have more flexibility to include more players in a potential Zach LaVine deal. Still a third team would probably be likely in that type of move. Knowing what the Milwaukee Bucks have, they can't offer a pick until 2031. They do have some second round picks that they can offer as well. How do you feel about what the Bucks could offer the Chicago Bulls? And is that something that should entice the Bulls?
Well, they still have the 2026 pick, right?
They can't move and do the protections on other picks. Remember the Stepien rule.
Oh, that's true. That is true. That's something I didn't bring up in my video. I didn't. Jesus. So listen.
That's why you have me as a guy who read. I'm a nerd and I read the CBA.
Listen. I mean, to me, if you're talking about 2031 picks, then I'm probably out. Then, you know what I mean. That's a situation for me with the Bulls that if you're moving on from Zach LaVine, you're allowing him to be in the division. You're allowing him to be in the conference, I should say. The divisions don't really matter as much, but they are in our division. It's somebody who you're going to have to play with Giannis for the foreseeable future. I know we don't really know how long Giannis is going to play. He keeps talking about, I'm not sticking around for the rest of my days out here. I'm not going to play till I'm 38, but there's still a lot of basketball left in Giannis before 38 hits here. A team that's going to be tough for you to compete with, and knowing that you get a 2031 first round pick probably out of
get you back in
Middleton.
Here's the thing, though. I get what you're saying in that, and I agree with you, right? But the thing that I want to throw out here, though, is that Dame, Giannis, and Zach are all off the books by 2031. So if they can only offer a 2031 pick, even if they do try to still re-up around Giannis, there's a chance that Milwaukee Bucks team, which already started off this season disappointing, may be at a place where that pick is actually valuable. And I get what, as far as competing against them, we're not anywhere close to competing with the Milwaukee Bucks level right now. Yeah. Now, knowing that everybody is off the books by then, and the Milwaukee Bucks could be in a point to where they're doing another rebuild or major retool by then, would that kind of get you back in on? Again, I know it's not perfect.
No,
it kind of gets you back in on the move.
No, because I think here's the thing. First off, if you're a general manager operating under the assumption that 2031 is the year that we're going to start moving in the right direction, you're doing some things.
You're doing things before then, right? It's not that you're moving in the right direction to then. Like, one could say this: we keep our own pick this year. Let's say that pick, Modest, Kobe, Io, these guys develop. We're a playoff team. There's a chance that the Milwaukee Bucks could be worse than us by then with everybody that they have coming off the books. And while we're ascending, we can get another additional first round pick that's pretty good.
I hear you, but the thing about the NBA is one player can change everything. If you find that right piece, you could be a contending playoff team very quickly. How's it going to be if for the next 6 years you've got this nice young core that seems like they're doing everything right, but they can't get over the hump of the Milwaukee Bucks because you gave them that key piece? I think for me, what I love about this conversation, though, is that this is drumming up the interest yet again. That's it. You've got a team that's aggressively in on Zach LaVine. That's going to have teams around the league going, we're not going to let Giannis gets Zach LaVine. There are teams that do play chess, not checkers. It's just the Bears. It's just the Bulls that want to play checkers every time, and they're trying to play Chinese checkers at the same time while playing regular checkers. They got too many games
3D chess at the same time.
3D chess, and they're losing all three of them.
Have you ever played 3D chess, by the way?
I have played 3D chess.
It's actually a really fun game, bro.
It's a solid version of chess that makes my head hurt every time when I get like too deep into the game.
Yeah, that's a
like once I'm like in the middle of a game, I'm like, this is too much, bro. By the
time you're 10, 12 moves in, it's like, hey, what are we doing here? What's happening?
Why am I playing this game? No, but like I just love the fact that you're actually getting some serious interest from a major team that could contend with it versus, like when the Pelicans name was thrown in there, or when the Hornets name was thrown in there. It's like, all right, you give Zach to LaMelo, like it's not going to turn him into a playoff team at any point, right? Like I think that this is a move where you've got a playoff team that the Boston Celtics are going to look at, that the New York Knicks are going to look at, that the teams in the Western Conference are going to look at and go, why would we let Giannis get one of the best spot up shooters in the NBA? Like the Bucks are the one team out of all of this that actually have enough defensive pieces to make it worthwhile to trade for just a purely offensive player like Zach LaVine. So I think that's the part that does get me excited in all of this deal. On the Bulls, it's not a deal that I make with the Milwaukee Bucks right now.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I just look at the long-term perspective of it, and I get what you're coming at with the concern. Now, the other aspect of this is that it did come out as well last night and early this morning that the Golden State Warriors are another team that's ready to aggressively pursue Zach LaVine, that they're actively searching for a third team to where they can move some of their assets and get more picks back to entice the Bulls more. This is the part that I'm the most excited about, because if you have these two teams, one in the West, one in the East, that both are really looking at Zach LaVine like, hey, this could be the piece that we need to complete whatever run we're going on the rest of the season. That's where you hope at least that AK can make something happen at least a little bit, right?
Yeah, well, listen, that's where, to me, right, the Bucks getting involved in this does get me excited. I think it was last night on a pod, right, we talked about this deal, and to me, I think that it's a deal that extends Stephen Curry's career possibly into his 40s if he wants to play, because he's now going to have basically a second player come in who actually can put the ball on the floor more than Klay Thompson did, but that is literally just pure catch and shoot. And by the way, they're not going to be paying attention to him because Stephen Curry's on the floor. So they're going to be watching Steph more than they're watching Zach LaVine. Like, that's a great situation for the Warriors to be in. I think if you're the Warriors right now, you look at the Zach LaVine trade and go, listen, we can extend our superstar. That goes more than just trying to win championships. That's keeping a superstar on the team for 36, 37, 38, 39. That's extending him wanting to stay in the NBA. That's money in our pockets just for Stephen Curry still being on the team. I think organizationally for the Warriors, it makes a ton of sense. If I'm AK, I'm sitting here going, oh, you want to get a team involved too, Milwaukee? Wow, Golden State, did you hear that? What else you got?
Matter of fact, if I'm being petty and I'm literally, my bad. I didn't know Golden State was on the phone when I was talking to Milwaukee. My bad. Let me hang up with you. I didn't realize y'all were still on the phone.
Hey, bro, are you doing the old school? You doing it? There's young people in here that's not gonna get this. They've been talking crazy, bro. They've been talking crazy. Hold on, I'm gonna put it on three-way, but mute yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure you stay muted. you gotta go back. You gotta go back. What was it, 99, 98 in there?
Hey, bro, three-way conversations used to go crazy. Don't be petty about it too. Be like, mute yourself. Don't let them know you're on the phone. Be like, yeah, I heard you.
Hey, oh yeah. At the end of, like, you know how many fights it would be like, hey, I'm gonna holler at you at school the next day. Started because of a three-way phone conversation that was on mute.
Absolutely. You just get a text message or a phone call. Just be like, I see you tomorrow. Huh? What happened? Did you tell him what I said?
No, I don't know how you found that out. Who else did you tell?
Hey, bro, it's a lot of there would be your best friends too. And like, as a kid, you don't like realize, like, bro, they some shady people, bro. Like, why would you do that?
Yep. And now you're not friends with any of them as adults, and that's why.
There's governmental laws against that, my boy. You can't.
It depends on what state you're in. I live in a state to where third-party consent is not needed for phone call conversation. You only need one-party consent.
Haize out here recording. He the feds. Y'all watch yourselves now.
Hey, listen. Listen. You never know. You never know what you may need. Y'all don't know what I got Pat online on. No, I'm just playing. But with that said,
there was that white man. If you don't get the context, that sounds crazy.
Listen,
You got to be a Locked On Bulls OG.
you got to be an alum for that. All right, final thing here, Pat, before we get out of here. Do you think with this kind of coming up, do the Bulls make a move?
You know what? I know since I've been back, I've kind of said, Zach LaVine's probably sticking around. I didn't expect teams to be this aggressive with knowing that the second apron is here. Teams don't give a about the second apron, apparently. Like I don't know how the Bucks are going to make this deal and have a franchise in Milwaukee after having all three of them on the team.
Yeah,
like I literally, like, I don't know. Now here's the other thing: is this the Bucks being petty and just being like, we're gonna make sure somebody else raises the price for Zach LaVine? Like, if you're gonna get him and win championships, we're gonna make sure that you pay for it if you don't work. Like, I don't logically, it doesn't make sense. When I heard it's the same thing with Jimmy Butler to the Suns, I'm like, who's paying these mugs? Like, how are y'all doing it? Like, these teams do not care about this second apron, and it may come back to bite them in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, they care, but it's like, here's the thing though. If you're already close to the title, I can understand it. It's like, hey, we can figure out the second tax apron thing. Like, as long as because if you get Zach LaVine locked in, you then have Giannis, Dame, and Zach locked in for the next 2 or 3 years. That's your window, right? So I can understand teams because it's so restrictive. You don't have your mid-level exception, right? Those type of things. So I can understand teams that are like, hey, we can make sure that we can get this team to a place where we feel that we're going to be able to contend each one of these years we're over the second tax apron. I actually admire it a little. It'll never be us, but I admire teams that are willing to do it.
I don't know about that one, dog. I mean, the Warriors are 24-24. What window they in?
They're not a second tax apron team, though.
They tried. That's true. They would be with. Well, they probably have to move Wiggins back, so they wouldn't be. So they'll probably have to move Wiggins back. So, but yeah, man, it's interesting to see some of these teams and how they just like, we're gonna circumvent it and figure it out, and by the end of it, we're gonna be rebuilding.
You saw what the Knicks did, right? I think you were off the pod by then, but the Knicks to make the Karl Anthony Towns deal, like in the NBA, you can only renegotiate a contract to raise it, right? Which that's why you never see contracts negotiated. It's not like the NFL where teams can take a player can take less money for the team or whatever. So you can't do that, but because that with the tax apron, you can't move players that are minimum contract players. So what the Knicks did in the Karl Anthony Towns trade, everybody who was a vet minimum, they renegotiated their contracts to raise it $1 above the vet minimum so that they can move it and include it. It's the crazy, like, teams are going to find a way to say, hey, your rules, F those rules.
Hey, bro, it's hilarious seeing some of this. I'm not going to lie to you, dog. But, hey, man, listen, at this point, I think that there's a serious possibility that Zach LaVine gets moved, and we'll see who to.
We'll see. But anything drops, will drop over here at Locked On Bulls. We're down doing breaking news episodes over here. Me and Pat working extra hard for you guys, man. And I will say, you guys have been turning out. The subscriptions have been going up like crazy as well. So we appreciate all the love we've been getting from you guys since Pat came back. And otherwise, if news drops, you'll see us. If not, you'll see us tomorrow after the game. Love you guys. Go Bulls, y'all. You already know what it is.
Peace.